Do you think that, I know that Jeffrey Husband has written about polyamory potentially becoming much more mainstream and even becoming, having multiple marriages or polyamory being recognised in law as time goes by. Do you think that that is a likely trend?
No. I think polyamory works for a very small subset of people. I think for many people, it blows up their lives. There's a certain sort of training period, or there's a learning curve that's quite steep. Some people, I mean, I've had poly friends where on a Saturday night would get together and look at, poly message boards, in places like Alabama, and just watch, rubberneck at like the car crash stuff that was going on, what people were trying to do, that was really beyond either them or their networks, capabilities. And also, it's funny, there are poly people, and certainly there's poly people who are, trans and furries and into kinky things, and, of all kinds of sexual subcultures. But it still seems to me that poly or non-monogamy or whatever is more criticized and threatening and maligned than, almost any other sexual subculture. I think probably similar to like a polyamorous person and like a vegan furry. It's like similarly, I don't think that multiple marriage is going to be encoded in law, not anytime soon. And certainly the people who are poly who get into the news, if you look at whatever conservative media or whatever, are these unusually poly people where a woman is having, the children of multiple men, for example, which doesn't work, I don't think. Although there are definitely been people who are sort of poly pioneers. Dora Russell thought that you should marry the person who'd be the best, father of your children, but you should be free to have lovers as much as you wanted. And she also had another husband and had a child with somebody else, and they all cohabited together. And there's this story of Agnes Callard, which just came out this week in the New Yorker, where she has not a poly arrangement because she's companioning with her ex-husband, but she lives with her ex-husband and her current husband in a home with her 3 children. And I know why people's heads blow up when they see stuff like that, because it's disgusting and threatening to them. And I know why people rationalize why their heads should blow up with regard to stuff like that, because they're afraid that people are going to try it. Like, I don't know, that there's lots of working class people who admire Agnes Callard and want to do what she does. I don't think that's the thing that
Keenly
happens.
reading her in the New Yorker, yeah. Yeah. Do you not, as an evolutionary psychologist, does your head not blow up a little bit at the idea of having kind of non-kin men living with the children of their rivals? Because we know about the Cinderella effect.
Yeah. I wouldn't do it. And I wrote that on Twitter. I wouldn't leave my husband for somebody I fell in love with. I would have an ongoing relationship with somebody else I fell in love with, but I wouldn't have his children. And I wouldn't have any, this is why I married my husband, is because I wanted to have his children and I wanted him to be the father to my children. But, having unrelated men in the home is already something that's happening all over the place, without role models. The stat that I posted today was that 50% of unmarried people who have children together leave each other. They split by the time the child is 5. And oftentimes they bring in
stressful years, so you can see why they would.
Unrelated men. Yeah. But if you are with somebody who, this is the other thing, is like, it's difficult for me to imagine that some man who is really not jealous and relaxed about you having an affair with somebody else would also be the kind of person who would murder an unrelated child. It's not something I would do, but it just doesn't seem like that same man. I can't imagine, the kind of man who flies into a jealous rage is the kind of man who murders a child that's unrelated to him.